Let's talk about some of the committees that you have. I saw Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs, Public Safety, Water and Land. Anything noteworthy coming out of the committees that you serve on?
Yeah, Annalisa, as you mentioned, I serve on public safety, military. That's one. Water and land is the second one, and the third one is judiciary, Hawaiian affairs, is the third committee. My district has significant projects there. One is, as you had mentioned, Red Hill, which was a great danger to our water source. It's a tribute to public outcry and an example of the people having a voice, and to such a degree that it caused the federal government, which is and the military, which is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful entity, to back down and make a decision to shut it down and drain it. And once it was drained, I had a huge sigh of relief that our water aquifer was not endangered anymore. So that's one project. So sitting on the public safety military committee is very uh, important to oversee that, to monitor that. Public safety also, OCCC is being relocated to the Hālawa animal quarantine area. So that's, public safety. So that's another huge project. And as you know, Hālawa prison is up the street in my district also. So those are big things. Aloha Stadium redevelopment, that's another one smack dab in my district also. So those kinds of things. We just finished the deadline for bill introduction, which was this past Wednesday, and a lot of the bills get routed to us to review and to have the opportunity to sign on as a co-introducer. And I'm really excited. My colleagues have been introducing a lot of interesting and I want to say out of the box, for lack of a better term, but really creative ideas to consider. And my thinking as a legislator, as I've just had one session under my belt, you learn and you kind of uh, refine your thinking process. And I realized that a bill needs to be heard to start the conversation. So if it's a good idea, it might not be perfect. There might be things against it, but I sign on to it because I think it's an idea that's worthy to be heard, to be discussed, to learn about it, to vet it, and through the process, perfectly come to a better product that might be an answer to problems that we are facing.
I did notice that one of the bills, the caucus bills, was exempting food and groceries from the GET, and that's something that's been consistently introduced every session. But I think the biggest argument, obviously, is where would we generate revenue if you get rid of the GET on food and groceries? Why do
Right.
you support that? And do you think it's realistic?
It is it's a hard place to be because yes, cost of living, as we said, is the highest number one problem. How do we make things more affordable? So trying to cut prices, taxes, like we just not we but the 20, I think it was the 22 or 24 maybe legislature passed the biggest income tax cut in history, and now the governor is suggesting that we pause that implementation to recover some of the monies, or not uh, lose those incomes to make budget. So it is a challenge. How do we find that? Grassroots Institute, which is a think tank, has done a lot of analysis, and they say that money is available in special funds. We have a number of special funds that are created for different purposes, and money that's sitting there. Rainy day fund is another fund that has, I believe, over $1 billion. I don't know the exact number, but um, and we have things that are budgeted for that lapse. In other words, the money is appropriated there, but it's not really going to be used right now at this instance. One example is um, positions like uh, workforce, and there's vacancies. So typically, from my observation, the percentage of vacancy in the departments across the state are roughly 25-30%. So the hardship is we have a workforce shortage. We have an aging population that's retiring. We have people that are leaving. We're short of workers, and I hear it all the time where they're advertising for hiring and nobody's applying, or if they apply, they schedule an interview and the person doesn't show up, or they cancel the interview. It's such a challenge to balance those things. So, we as government have a very difficult job, and um, that responsibility weighs on me a lot because I take it very seriously that we are speaking for the people of Hawaii. So I don't know if I'm just going off, but
Well,
those are the things on my heart right now.
yeah, no, it makes sense. And again, and like I said, there are a lot of suggestions on how to manage the budget in a very difficult year, and that was one of the suggestions. But again, like I said, I think there's so much fear or concern of losing that revenue stream that I don't see that likely happening. So
Yeah, I mean, I have my own ideas and positions, which probably is not uh, maybe the majority's position, but even we passed a green fee tax increase last session, and that those monies were earmarked for specific areas in conservation and tourism, to protect our environment. And I would think it's a consideration to redirect those monies for more priorities, because we in a perfect world, yeah, we passed it because it was a good idea. It was something that we wanted to do. We all approved it. Well, not all approved it, but it approved and it got passed. But now we're in a different situation, and maybe something is a higher priority than that. So how do you make those decisions of, you know, um, again, maybe eating tuna sandwich for seven days, and on the next week you treat yourself to dessert or something, but
yeah.
it's a balancing act, and those are hard decisions, and that's where we have to work together and really make hard decisions.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we will be following again. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing some of your priorities, telling us a little bit about what you're thinking about this session, and we'll check in with you toward the end to see how it's going.
Oh, we're in the time already. Oh, that was fun. Thank you,
It was
Annalise.
fast. Yeah, 30 minutes it flies by. Yeah. So.
But it's really important for the public to educate themselves, to be aware of what's going on, because really you want to stay ahead of the curve, and that comes from knowledge, from being aware, from education. And that's what I try to do as much as possible through my newsletter, through conversing with my constituents, is giving them access in the process. And that's where in committee hearings I ask a lot of questions, because I don't know, and I want to have the discussion that's open and educating. And another thing is, on the floor, when we vote, I usually will stand up and give an explanation of why I'm voting no, or why I'm voting yes with reservations, and what the reservations are. and it's a method for me to inform the public of what's going on and what are the deeper things of a specific bill that we can be aware of that helps us in our lives, and even voting correctly or communicating with our representatives, your representatives. We serve you, and we work for you. So it's important for each person to know in your district who are your elected officials. Let them know what you think, what is important, because that's what we're here to do, is hear your voice and advocate for you as best as we can.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, thank you, Representative Garner Shimizu, joining us, and keep doing the good work over at the state capitol. We'll check in with you throughout the session.
Thank you very much, Annalisa.
All right. And I'm Annalisa Burgos here at Hawaii News Now. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Aloha.